Welcome to today's session. Today, I'm going to share with you something that will take your communication level to the very, very top if you apply. It's called the power of why. Now, let's say you are speaking with someone and you're looking to raise finance. Or, in fact, this applies to pretty much every situation that you might be in your life. Let's say you're trying to get to know your better half. You're trying to get to know your investors. You're trying to get to know your prospects. You're trying to get to know your parents, your siblings, your kids. Irrespective of who you're trying to get to know, so you could help them in the process, this is what you need to apply, what I'm about to share with you. So, like I said, this applies to improving your better half relationships, your relationship with your kids. It applies to relationship with your parents. If you have any misunderstandings with anyone in your circle, either it is family, friends, or the people that you work alongside with, if you apply this and you apply it in a more subtle way, not a bait and not an obvious way, but in a very, very subtle way, you would remove at least 99% of misunderstandings, as well as when you take this and apply it to your business, that you'll be able to raise any kind of investment that you potentially want to. Okay? It's called, like I said, the power of why. What you need to know from anyone that you're speaking with is, why do they want to invest? Let's say in the context of business, or for that matter, let's say if you're speaking with someone in your family and you have a bit of misunderstanding, they say something, instead of assuming and reacting to it, try to understand by asking, why have they said what they said? I'm going to give you a few examples here. Okay, I can only give that example when someone actually practices it with me. So anyone wants to go ahead, practice with me, and then you can do the practice with me as well. So vice versa, you can do the same like back and forth questioning with me as well later. So anyone wants to go and do this with me?
I nominate Mazi.
Kalpana has suggested your name, not sure why. I will ask her why some other time.
that was so quick.
It's ironic, but Mazi, can you hear me? Not sure if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Kalpana, I'm not sure if you can hear me. I need someone to practice with this with me. Who wants to go?
I can try. I can.
Okay, so Kalpana, let's go. Let's go with you. Or in fact, no, Kalpana, I'd rather not go with you at the moment. I'd rather go for Seti.
Okay.
Right? Because this is gonna go really deep. Okay. So I wanna go with Seti. Okay, so bro.
Yeah.
So let's say you let's say you run this business, right? So I'm gonna ask you a few questions. Okay. Now, I'm talking about people that you may not know enough. Maybe you know them a little bit. Maybe you don't know them at all. It doesn't really matter. Okay, but you're having a chat. Let's say you met them and then you ask them, so tell us a bit more about yourself, what you do. Go ahead, Seti, tell me.
Property agent, been in the property industry for around about 18 years. Family man, married man now, for my sins. What else do I do? I have a hobby and passion for sports. I love boxing, playing football, and I love creating things and basically supporting individuals in their journey. And I'm really into charity work as well. So that's the stuff I do.
Fantastic. So do you mind me asking, why do you love charity?
I love giving. And that's the bottom line of it. I believe in serving, and the power you get from serving is you don't do something for a purpose, you just do. And the way the universe works, like we're not good at everything, but other people will step out, like we step our way to help them. The universe usually kind of steps in their own kind of ways, in a special kind of way, to help you in your journey of life as well. So that's the reason why.
So what in essence you're saying is it's what you give out to the universe, you kind of get it back.
Yeah, you shouldn't sit there waiting for something
Expecting
to happen
it.
or give back. Yeah, no expectations, but it's really bizarre the way it works, and it's happened many a times. So that's all I can say. It's just literally, yeah, powerful.
Okay. I can see while we are sitting in the context that I can see two words behind you, which are Sanskrit words, and I understand Sanskrit, but they actually mean karma, which is what you give is what you get, and shanti is peace. So, okay, in the same context, or in a similar context, why did you start a property or a lettings business?
I didn't. I'm going to be honest with you. It was my business partner who started the business. 6 months into the business, my cousin brother, who's got a mortgage company in business, the one we met in Slough, remember, Robbie?
Yes, I remember that, yes.
Yeah. So he had a mortgage business, and they just sat down and they said, hold on, you do lettings and sales, we do mortgages. This would be a very good joint venture to do. Let us buy into the business. We'll bring business into it, and, we'll help kind of transform things and, make things bigger. So that was the reason why I got involved. There was no, I was joining British Airways and Royal Brunei, basically. I was in travel and tourism. There was no reason that, I always say this as well. The only thing I knew about property, that's a house and that's a flat. I didn't know nothing else about property at that time. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And what's the reason you stayed in the property business for that long? I mean, you've been in it for many years, 16 years, 17 years.
Yeah. I've been in, why I stayed in it was with the travel agency as well, losing my uncle at a young age, becoming promoted managing director of a business in Mayfair at the age of 23. I had the world's weight on my shoulders, and I just couldn't, I didn't have the experience, the know-how, the expertise, and kind of crumbled. But then there was always something left to say, I would love to be in that opportunity again. You go and work for someone, and I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. End of the day, whatever suits the individual, go and do. But when you go and work for someone, you are literally working their hours. You are going to get a certain amount of money. It doesn't matter what you come out with or whatever. But when you're in your own business and you're empowered entrepreneur or solopreneur, whatever you are, it gives you that ability to turn around and really create something and do something and build something and really focus on where you want to go. I think that kind of, summed it up, what I was thinking at that time. I wanted to be my own boss. Obviously, I've got a business partner, but I had 5 business partners at that time as well, not even one. And I was a minority shareholder in the business, but then I bought those out, and we own it jointly now between us. Okay.
So from what I hear, freedom tends to be one of the core reasons, and then creative aspiration is another, from what I gather.
Yeah, correct, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, guys, I need you. So this practice has finished just for time being. Let's put it on pause for a second, okay? So, guys, I need you to observe what just happened. I got to know his motivation and aspiration in terms of why is he running his business. Raise your hand if you saw that yourself. Raise your hand if you see that. Yep. I got him to open up about why he does what he does in his business. I've not touched the personal life yet. I am going to, okay? I'm going to do that. But at the moment, all I did was try to find out why he does what he does in his business. Freedom and creative expression, okay? You need to do this in exactly the same way on every level of a person. It is family, emotions, and logic, okay? So family, emotions, and logic, and maybe there could be other factors as well, maybe health, well-being, all of that. It could incorporate many factors, but the first one always and will remain always is the main inspiration. the main reason, and I still haven't got to that. Once you start to touch on the family stuff, you will get to know the real main reason of starting a business or pushing through difficult times, all of that. Okay, we can continue this, but I just wanted to explain everyone this so they can observe what's happening here in the conversation. Okay, so Rob, just to ask you, you said you're a family man. Tell us a bit more about your family, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, 100% blessed. Dad, we live in a family house. Got Dad with us, me and Harry. Sister's at the moment. She's buying a house with my brother-in-law, so she'll be, she departed 2 years ago when she got married, but she came back here for a couple of months. Sadly lost mum last year in January. That's probably, I always say this as well, like my biggest asset of my life was my mother, because they give unconditional love and they can't be replaced. That's the bottom line of it. Again, blessed to have a brother, a sister-in-law, 2 nieces in Leicester. He's non-business related. He likes working. He doesn't like to, like he always says, he thinks it's the other way around. We give our power away because we have to work Sunday sometimes as well. So he's like, no, I'm not doing this. And then I got, again, a sister, brother-in-law, niece, nephew, which are local as well. Very big family. Mum and dad both have got 9 brothers and sisters. You can just imagine how many cousins I have around me, UK, India, and around the world now actually as well. So yeah, very, very big family and very blessed with that. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I could feel this, and I think this is something maybe I know maybe beforehand as well, but it seems like you were very, very close with your mom.
100%, bro. Yeah, totally.
Okay, so the business you run and the kind of money that you make, what is the reason behind that? Do you want to make more money? And if so, what's the reason behind that?
No. This is when people actually get to know me in a very deeper way, the way you are probing at the moment in time. My money goals isn't to have a 6-bedroom detached house. If it happens, it happens. At the end of the day, I'm not really bothered about that. Or Porsches and Ferraris and lineup of cars and whatever not. The bigger I can become on my own or with groups and grow sizes and whatever, we can really help and impact and make a big difference in the world. There's a lot of people out there are less fortunate than us. I know a lot of people already out there, they're already giving back and they're already serving and stuff like that. But I think everybody, it doesn't matter where you are in your own personal economy, you can always do a little bit to turn around and give back, even if it means, and you don't need to be rolling in thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions. You see someone who's homeless, instead of giving them money, turn around and ask them, what would you like to eat? If there's a shop around the corner, just give them some food or drink, or, little things like water. Small things like that make a big impact. So that's my big why, as in, like, you can make some, like, changes. I've done, like, charity. When I say I've done charity events, I've done things like Crisis. I help out a sister-in-law running a charity. I help out, again, I don't have my name published out there. I don't believe in any of that. When it comes to food runs and whatever not, and helping out homeless people, giving out blankets and stuff like that. And naturally, it's not just giving it to an organization to think, right, the money should turn up to the right place. It's actually doing it myself, going out there, going to the streets. And actually, these people just want to have a conversation with people, like normal people, and they don't get that when they're on the street and we're on their own. So that's a very big why for me as well.
Okay. And also, how does your work life relate to your family? So my question is, why work that hard if it's all about, it's not just about you? That's my understanding so far.
Yeah.
Then why work so hard?
Why work so hard? I'll be honest with you, I've questioned the same question, and it has come to me and it's dawned to me over the years. It's just been like like they say, a ball in a china shop, that you literally want to just, you're working. You don't know nothing else, because what it happens, it becomes a habit that you form, that you really don't know how to kind of get out of it. So I had kind of an enlightenment moment and stuff like that. A friend of mine who's very dear to me, who's like a brother as well, he shared something over to me, and he said to me, watch this video. And I did watch this video. It's about 45 minutes. And I did this 30-day challenge this year as well, on top of everything else I was doing. And it really kind of honed in, not just where I am now, but for the future as well. You know, getting the body, the business, the being, and the balance, which are like 4 big Bs. And obviously people can relate to it in other ways as well, because over the years, I definitely haven't got it right. I was, like you said, very kind of, if I was in the business, I would be there for whatever, 16 hours or 18 hours in a day. I had no issues there. I don't, you know, when it comes to work and getting things done, it's, you put things out there. And that's why I'll probably juggle a bit too much at the same time. And that's probably a weakness that I'm now working on, and going back to my understanding of, like, when you literally have got a certain period of time. And yesterday was beautiful. I did this and it was powerful. I was literally in the office for 3 hours, but with those 3 hours are like 3 days for me. That powerful.
And why is that?
Because it was really, really focused. I knew exactly what I had to do. I got rid of all my distractions. I always say this thing here is a very big distraction in our lives, because we're trying to do one thing, and guess what? Everything else is feeding in. So your mind's thinking, do I deal with the feed or do I deal with the action? So you can never kind of get that wrong. But if you've already got it down, again, literally writing down the day before to say, right, these are the things that I need to get done. Writing also helps. People can type it in, you know, whatever works for them. The reason why you kind of write it, because you're embedding it again in your subconscious. And when you're sleeping, your mind, we're switched off to our bodies, but your mind's obviously thinking, because obviously you're dreaming and stuff like that as well. So sometimes your solutions are coming in and you are getting the solutions during your sleep as well.
Thank you for sharing that, bro. Okay.
No,
so
sorry, I know that was deep.
I want everyone to observe what just happened, guys. Not just that I am getting to know Seti, he's getting to know himself a bit more. At the same time, he's talking about freedom, creative expression, aspirations. He's talking about body, which is health. He's talking about being present in the moment. And sorry, what was the third B?
Body, being, business, balance. And
Body,
balance,
being, business, balance. Okay.
The balance is the business and the family life, because what happens is money comes in and we start doing this.
Yep.
And this becomes the weight, and the family life is up there. And then things go wrong in your family life, and then you're doing this.
Yep.
And you go in the opposite way.
And it's a very difficult balance. Okay. So guys, I just want you to observe all of this. Okay. There's a reason it's called the power of why, because the more you get to know a person at emotional level, I said emotional level, not logical level, because as human beings, we take decisions emotionally and try to prove them logically. But the decisions in most cases are always emotional and not logical. So I'm getting to know Seti personally on an emotional level. And in fact, with me and Seti, that's what happened in the first place. When we met, I think we literally ticked on one thing that I can remember. Every time we speak about that, I always have tears in my eyes, and that's our mums. So we literally clicked at that point, and we started talking about family life and all of that. We literally didn't talk about much business, right? For a certain period of time. So try to see how, by asking why as many times as required, not just 3 times, not just 5 times, as many times as required in different formats, So there are times when asked, what does that look like? Or what does that mean to you? It's an indirect why. Okay. You're trying to dig deeper into someone's emotional level to get to know them. Why is it that they're doing what they're doing? You know, for example, if they run a business, why are they running a business? Why? Okay. If they have a family, why are they a family person? Many people want to be just on their own and not have a family, right? If they have kids, why do they have kids? Why did they plan to have kids? If they love their mom or their dad, or for that matter, if they hate their mom and dad, unfortunately, I know people who hate their parents. Why is that so? Okay. You want to get to their psychological framework in as much depth as possible by asking as many whys as possibly required to get to the right to the core of it. So if you were to create a circle and you ask why first time, you're able to get through to the first layer of the circle, and then the second layer, and the third layer, and the fourth layer, and the fifth layer, and then the more you ask, the more you get to the core of the circle. And that's what you need to get, that's where you need to get to. Now, in many cases, when you start speaking with people, they may not open up. They may not open up, and that's okay. Okay? People need time to open up to you. With people, slow is fast, and fast is slow. So take it slowly with people. If they don't open up initially and they take their time, let them take their time. But by asking as many whys as possible, you get to the core of why they do what they do. And from that point, they start to feel that you actually care. People don't care how much you know. People care how much you care. Raise your hand if you've heard that expression and understand it, or maybe don't, but raise your hand if you've heard this expression that people don't care how much you know, but they care how much you actually care. Okay? So this is the reality of it, that people really don't care how much you know or what you have or what you do, doesn't really matter. People care if you actually really care. When you start asking these questions, people will start to feel that you actually care. You actually really care. Okay? And as soon as they start to feel that you actually care, they're more likely, not all cases, but they're more likely to invest with you. Raise your hand if you know what I mean so far, please. I just need everyone to kind of get a clear gist of this. All right. I may go to other people as well and ask if there's any confusion, but I will come back to you. Okay. In the same context, and I'm not a life coach, but I've observed life very, very well, and I've applied this to my own life in enough depth as much as possible, which is when you sit with your family, your friends, people you work alongside with, or people that you're surrounded by, and you slowly get to know them over a period of time by asking open questions like why and what and how, and you get to know them with their psychological framework that they have and why they do what they do, you will improve your relationships. And like I said, this applies to the better halves, the kids, parents, siblings, pretty much everyone. And this massively applies to your stakeholders in your business, so people you work alongside with, as well as investors. So stakeholders includes investors, but it includes the people who might be interested in investing with you. Once you start to apply this power of why and asking why they do what they do, and they start to feel that you actually really care, they are very likely to invest with you. If you observe me, I do this every single time in the most subtle way. Okay? Obviously, we are doing a session, so I'm really going a bit hard on this, but I do this in a very, very subtle way. I speak with someone, I'd ask them one question, two questions, and the next time I meet them, I'd ask them one or more, two more questions, and so on. So I get to know them on their emotional level a bit better, every single time I meet that person. And then over a period of time, when they start to feel, I insist on the feel word, when they start to feel that I actually care, that's when the business starts to roll. That's when you start to talk about more business, you start to talk about more deals, you start to talk about investments, you start to talk about everything that's related to growing as a team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we all need to practice more of is asking why as many times as possible in the most subtle way to get to know someone at a very deeper level, emotional, deeper level, so they work alongside you. As human beings, right? Most people, I'm not saying everyone, we have sociopaths or whatever in life, in the world as well. But most people actually really do care about other people. Okay? All you need to do is understand this communication level to create that in your life and in your business, allowing you to, first of all, improve your relationships with everyone around you. And second is to improve your business around you with everyone. I was asked this question. In fact, I've been asked this question many times. How do I tend to attract that many people in my business? And the reason for that is what you just saw. Okay, it's because I really deeply care about people, and I really deeply ask these questions to as much depth as possible, allowing me to get to know them, and then they can feel that and they want to work with me at that point. Okay, that's how you gotta roll when it comes to communication skills. When I say communication, if you start to apply this, or when you start to apply this, I would say, you'll observe this is actually the peak of your communication skills. There's lots of other factors below this, but once you start to apply this, you'll observe that you will start to learn other things below this as well. Okay, let's say you pick up the phone and you call an estate agent. Now, no, you can't ask these questions on a phone call. Of course not. But when you go and meet them, and there you see on their table a picture of their son, maybe doing some coloring, or you walk into their office and you see one of their kids or any of their family members, or any of those pictures or awards that they've got, they are emotionally connected to that picture. They're emotionally connected to that reward or award that they've got, a certificate that they've got. They've worked really hard for that certificate. Okay, they're emotionally connected to that. Those are your points to talk about. Okay, before you start to meet a person, let's say you arrange a meeting with someone, go and check their social media profiles. In many cases, people would put in stuff that they're emotionally connected with. It could be football, it could be cricket, it could be snooker, it could be kids, it could be family, it could be a 500,000 other things. It doesn't really matter what it is, but they will actually put in every now and then what they're emotionally connected with. Okay, if you go to my Facebook profile, when I created it back in 2009 and 10, you can check the quote that I love the most, which is actually Steve Jobs. And then you can see my aspiration or the emotional level of what is it that I'm all about. You can check that, right? And when you check it, and when you come to see me, and if I'm new to you, you know what to talk about. Okay, likewise, when you have a meeting with a stakeholder, an agent, an investor, it doesn't really matter. All you got to do is make sure you check a little bit about them, and when you meet them, you start talking about what they're emotionally connected to, not logical stuff. We do not take decisions based on logic, guys. Okay, we do not take decisions based on logic. So first, get to know them emotionally, make them feel that you actually really care. And at that point, once that rapport is built, once that trust is built, the trust goes like this: know, like, and trust. So you get to know them, and then you tend to like each other, and then the trust is built. And when the trust is built, after that, pretty much everything else is just a flow. Okay, everything else. But at the same time, when I say flow, you still have to keep with that relationship. Okay, if you don't keep up with the relationship, just because you built rapport and trust with someone doesn't mean that they're going to invest with you or they're going to work with you. You still have to keep up with that relationship. You don't speak with them for 6 months. Yes, they trust you. You call them 6 months later or 12 months later, they haven't heard from you. Don't just go and jump and say, well, can you invest with me? No, get to know them again a bit more. Make them feel as if you care. You're the same person you were 6, 12 months ago. Okay? It's all about getting to know someone's psychological framework, their aspirations, and what they're emotionally connected to be able to create that relationship which will allow you to work alongside them, have them invest in your projects, and at the same time create amazing relationships. I mean, there was a study done on human relationships that people who have a greater, there's obviously study on emotional intelligence as well, you know, delayed gratification, all of that. But people who have the psyche of delayed gratification had better relationships, and those people also had, they actually lived longer. They actually lived a much happier life. This was all statistically proven, tracked for about 50 years. So there's a lot of research on this, guys. So if you start to implement what I just shared with you, you don't just attract more investors, more people you work alongside with, but you also improve your relationships with people around you, your family, friends, acquaintances, people, your colleagues. At the same time, you increase your life and your well-being, because you tend to get to know people better, and that you create better relationships, and that leads to a much happier life and a much longer life. Like I said, there's lots and lots of research on this. There's one research which it actually stands out. It was done over a period of 50 years, tracking people right from their school time all the way up to when they were in their 70s. And that research is available online, which proves that better relationships lead to a much longer and happier life. That is today's subject. I am happy for someone to practice this with me now. So I want to see if you can get me to open up. Okay, I will play hard. I will not open up, just so I could show you that sometimes people don't open up. Anyone wants to try it with me? Well, if you try it, that's the only time you would know how to implement this, because it does look very easy from where I've just done it. I've been practicing this for 15 years. So it looks very easy on the surface. It's actually really tough. Okay. Bro, have you tried this? Sati?
Not recently, but I'm happy to do it. I just thought I'd leave it open to everybody else, just in case everybody wants to jump in.
Let's see.
But if they don't want it, I'll jump in. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if Mazi, can you hear me? I know you can hear me because you're writing stuff.
Come on, Mazi.
I think he's busy doing stuff.
Unless Kalpana wants to jump in and try.
Kalpana, do you want to try this?
She's there.
No, I'm going to pass.
No, come on, give it a go.
No,
Jennifer, do you want
it's okay. It's okay. I think I know Jack very well anyway.
Okay, all right. Jennifer, can you hear me?
My mic is
Yes,
playing
Jack.
up. My headphones are
can
not
hear you.
working.
Yes, Jack, I can hear you.
Would you like to try this with me?
Lord.
But I promise you one thing: if you try this and if you start to implement this, it will literally, and I mean literally, change everything about your life. How many people do you know who know their better halves better, or they know them well enough? How many people do you know who know their siblings well enough? How many people do you know who know their parents well enough? Most people don't. Do you know why? Because they assume.
Yeah.
Instead of assuming, it's better to do what I've just done. Get to know them, get to know your family, get to know your siblings, get to know your kids, get to know your people you work alongside with. How many business partners do you know who just assume things and have misunderstandings because they don't know each other enough, because they don't do this practice that I've just done with Seti? Okay, you really, really need to practice this and practice this at a massive level with pretty much everyone in your life. Okay, Jennifer, do you want to go? Do you want to give it a shot?
Okay. I'll,
It's the
I'll,
power of why. So you need to ask why and what in the most subtle way to get me to open up, where you get me to the core of why I do what I do.
okay. All right.
Not from anywhere. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Hi, Jack. How's your day going so far?
My day is going fantastic because I miss my mom, which always feels nice.
Okay. And how is she?
She's actually not well.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
She's into her 70s. At the same time, she's in India, and this COVID situation has really spiraled up, which has made things very, very difficult. But she's in below average health condition.
And how's that making you feel?
The worst I could feel,
Mm-hmm.
because I lost my grandma when I was in UK and I couldn't even go back, unfortunately. And now my mom is not well, so I would like to go, and I would fly today if I could, but I cannot for personal reasons.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's life. That's life.
It is. Yeah, I understand that. And then going forward, does she have someone there to help? I take it she has.
Yes, she does. My dad is there. He's a very, very strong man. In fact, if you see me as strong, multiply that by 10. That's my dad.
Oh, fantastic.
So he's a very, very strong person. He's there, and we don't have a problem in that respect now. So she's looked after. She's looked after well.
Awesome. And how's things going with your family here in the UK? I know your wife's expecting, which is fantastic.
That is the reason I'm not able to. Yes, she's well. She's doing good. She does need looking after because there are times when she'd feel weak, or she would feel dizzy, if that is an English word in itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she sometimes feel a bit weak, but that's again a part of the process. So she does need someone with her, which I'm always here. I work from home.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, no, she's looked after as well. So I'm happy at least everyone is looked after in that respect. Yes.
Awesome. Now you mentioned you work from home. In relation to your work, you set up Pen. Let's ask the question: why did you set up Pen, and what were you hoping to achieve by setting that up?
That's an interesting question. I actually set up Pen because there was two things. One was the strategic gap that I found. I thought this gap would work. It is working. Is it working to the level that I expected? Not as yet, but it might work. We're working towards it. And I was playing to my strengths. So I am very good with my interpersonal skills, with my communication skills. And this required very, very good communication and interpersonal skills. So I was playing with my strength. That was another reason for starting PEN. At the same time, at the back of PEN, I knew that there is business to be done in terms of property. And that's something that I was heading towards more of. So it just kind of was an incorporation of few reasons that led to PEN.
Okay. In relation also, because I know you do finance, so how have you found, I suppose they go together, but how do you find that? Does one take over the other?
In fact, I mean, it complements each other, right? So it was very obvious for me that I could do that at the back of that and make money. At the same time, finance is a very, very difficult space to be in. A lot of people feel there's lots of money. Yes, there's lots of money, but at the same time, it is a very, very difficult space to be in. It is very, very competitive. It is a generic product, makes it very, very difficult to sell unless you're very, very competitive in terms of creating a network. But it gels together well, and it creates that advantage for people to come to this one-stop shop where they can get advice, guidance, they can get help with finance, they can get help with many other aspects. It just becomes like a one-stop shop in essence, making it easier for people. It's like instead of walking to a local shop, they walk into Tesco's or Sainsbury's because they can find everything in one space.
Awesome.
And that was another reason for it. Yes.
Excellent. Now let's talk about your passion outside of PEN, outside of finance. What's your other passions?
In fact, this is something not a lot of people know. I'm actually a sportsman at heart.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't play anything for various reasons, but I go to gym every day. I would probably know more than any personal instructor you would meet about workouts and nutrition. So I'm very, very heavy with my workouts and my routine of that. But I'm a sportsman at heart. But I never got a chance to be in sports or play in sports. But that's my passion. So if you put me in front of cricket or even football, or for that matter, you put me in front of snooker, you literally have to pull me out of that TV. I would not leave because I'm really, really passionate about sports. I do believe that youngsters who want to come into business must first try their hands on sports. They should try to either play at national level or international level if they can, before they try their hands into business, because the discipline required to be able to do business is what they will learn from sports.
That's true.
And that's what I learned when I was younger. So when I was about 12, I was the best cricketer in the town. I do know that if I was encouraged at that time, and I was me being a bit ignorant as well, but if I was encouraged at that time, I would have been an international player very easily. But that's a bit about my passion. Yes.
Wow, that's fantastic. Oh, that's brilliant. And for the future, all right, you build up PEN, you build up all of your property stuff. What's your exit strategy?
Ooh, I like that question. I don't have one, and I'll tell you why as well.
Okay.
I sold a business in 2014 and then another one in 2016. Regret is a very strong word.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is a more subtle word to that. But when I reflect back.
Reflects, yeah.
So hindsight is that I should have not sold the first one, not the second one. The second one was a bit smaller, so that's okay. But the first one was a very big business, or fairly big business. And looking back at that, I should have not sold that business. So my mindset at this moment is that I'll probably end up retiring with many of these businesses. I will not sell them unless I have to. Because I think when a person gets to a point when they can't manage too many things on their plate, at that point, if they decide to sell something, that's okay. Otherwise, I have absolutely no plans to sell anything, just purely because when I reflect back in hindsight, I think that was an error.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes, I do not have an exit as of now, but like I said, if it gets to a point where I have too much on my plate, I may sell some aspect of it, if not the whole.
And what have you put in place to know whether or not things become too much?
It's when I spend less time on my health and family, I would know that I have too much on my plate.
Excellent.
Okay. So yeah.
Okay, I think I've asked enough questions.
Thank you. I think I was being lenient. I should have been a bit more hard on you. But how many people get to know me and my aspirations? And that was good questioning, good way of questioning. Go ahead, Seti.
Yeah, that was brilliant. I mean, obviously, we know about the connection of a mum, about the other aspects of your life, and the cricket. I didn't obviously know about that. And last weekend, which was really good as well. Remember, I reached out to you and I messaged you, or I think I left you a voice note or something, that I didn't know about the international trading stuff in the family.
Yeah.
And Jennifer, I had to message you, but again, it's just one of those things. Sometimes it doesn't happen.
Yes.
You mentioned something about working with Hackney Council, that you were trying to become an approved person now. I know someone who's approved there. I'm happy to link you up if that makes life a little bit easier.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's talk after, and then I'll link you guys up. I'm with the guy on Tuesday around about 2 o'clock. So I'm I can do a call and intro you in there.
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank
Yes.
you. All right, guys, can everyone observe what happened, what Jennifer did with me? Raise your hand if you saw the aspirations, the inspiration, the emotional stuff going on behind the back of my mind, the way I look at things, the way I see things, and how I actually found that Jennifer is absolutely amazing at this. I'm surprised that you were scared of this, Jennifer. You did a brilliant job at that.
Thank you.
Okay. It's just really very, very simple if you keep it simple. Okay. But the more you get to know a person on the emotional level, the more likely they are to work with you in the first place. Okay. I mean, I do everything purely just for nothing else. And I can tell you all, and I've shared this many times, I do everything just purely for my family, right? It's all about my health and family. That is all that matters to me. So these are the two things that actually get the most priority: family, health, and business. And I don't know if anyone remembers here, or some of you would, that I say, write the things that you value the most, a list of 10, remove the 7, work on the 3 at any given time. And those are the 3 things in my life: health being the first, second being family, and the third being business. Okay. Another thing at the core of this is identity. People, in most cases, not all, want to have an identity of themselves. So they want to be known for what they do. Okay. Now, this can sometimes come from ego, other times, and it's not bad. I don't see it as a bad ego. This is good ego. Okay. Other times it can be more like, I want to be respected, I want to be known, I want to be appreciated. Okay. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but just learning to balance it in your mind if and when you don't get it. Okay. So your personal brand plays a big part in that, just so you know. Okay. So just being out there, sharing your story. Remember, guys, it's not about facts and sharing facts. It's about sharing your story. Marketing is all about storytelling. Okay. So when you share your story, people connect with your story, and then they connect with you on a personal level. Okay. Now I'm actually going to go through everyone and ask you questions. So I understand. So I understand that you understood. Okay. So I'm going to go through everyone. I can see Chetan right at the top of the list. Chetan, can you hear me?
Hi, Jack. Yes,
Yeah,
I
hi.
can hear you, Jack.
Do you have any questions based on what we just did, this practice?
Not really, but yes, it's good to know, that how important the communication is in our life, and it's very important to to communicate at the same time, holding your ego and thinking about the future, and sticking to your goals.
Yep.
So they all link together, and
Yep.
it was really good to know your story as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So
Thanks.
remember, guys, it's about practicing this. If you don't practice it, and I can assure you the reason Jennifer did really well with this is because she has life experience. If you don't practice this, you will not get it right. Okay. It just becomes very, very difficult when you're actually physically with the person. You have to practice this every single day. Okay. And that is how you're going to master this, and then being able to get to the core of a person. Okay. Dean, sir, I can see you next in the list. Any questions? No,
Sorry,
Chetan, go ahead. No, go ahead.
sorry. I just have one question from
Go
you,
ahead. Go ahead.
because I was listening to you very carefully, and when you were talking about your mom, about your, the problems you've gone through and things like that. How do you work on controlling your emotions when you are talking or answering question to something that that's very personal and that has really affected your life and affected yourself, has
It's a
made you
great
very
question.
emotional? If I was you,
Yeah.
I would have started crying.
Chetan, that is a great question. Okay, one of the very, in fact, one of the best skills you'll ever learn is opening up and being vulnerable. Okay, I remember I went to this workshop maybe about 3 years ago or so. It's a friend of mine called Iklok, and his workshop was all about being vulnerable. Okay, and I went in there, and then he asked a couple of questions, and I stood up and I shared the story about my grandma, that I couldn't be there when she passed away. And I was actually crying on a stage in front of people. Now, I was not a person back then to ever cry. I just wasn't, right? I'm the hardcore alpha male. I do not cry normally, okay? But I learned one thing, that if you don't open up, you cannot connect with people on emotional level. So since then, so this is only about 3 years ago, before that, I did not open up easily, and I did not share my personal stuff easily. But I learned that day in that workshop that until I don't open up, you don't connect with people enough on emotional level, and that makes creating amazing relationships more difficult.
So
You
true.
don't
Yeah.
attract, you attract people, but on surface level.
Mhm.
So that becomes more difficult. So you will not attract the right kind of people in your life. You'll not attract the right kind of investors in your life. You'll not improve your relationships with people that you're surrounded with, family, friends, colleagues. You won't if you don't open up. So you do have to open up. It's just, I think, balancing it in your own mind. When I was sharing this, I don't know if anyone observed, I still had very tiny tears. And that's okay. Remember, as human beings, we need to feel relieved as well. Okay. Back in the days, used to keep everything inside me, and that made it very heavy on me as well. But now that I learned that unless you put yourself out there and you're vulnerable, and that you share your story, first of all, you feel relieved. Second, you connect with people on a much deeper level. And unless you don't open up, unfortunately, it'll just all be surface level. Raise your hand if you know people who are husband, wives, siblings, and they're still surface level. I know many people. Raise your hand if you know a lot of people like that. How come do you live in the same house and just still be on the surface level? And that's because, first of all, they assume and don't ask questions. And second is that they don't open up. So they really don't go to the core of their being and share about how they feel. You really need to do that, Chetan. Okay.
Yes, that's a
I
big
know
lesson. Thanks.
I know it's very, very difficult. I found it very difficult before 3 years ago, but I practiced it after that. Because if I don't open up, I'll just not create enough deeper relationships, which I need, which I want. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Jack.
And a
Thanks a lot.
great question at that. Amazing question, Chetan. I'm glad you actually asked this question. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thank you.
Dean, sir, you're next in the list. Do you have any questions, please?
No questions, I'm afraid, no.
Thank you. Esther, do you have any questions?
Yes, Jack.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just want to find out, sometimes when you do open up to people, they also use your weakness to also deal with you.
Yes, I am so glad you guys are asking amazing questions. Yes, you have to be slightly careful. When you open up to people, just be aware that there are people who may take advantage of that. Okay. I tend to remove people from my life. And when I say remove, I mean remove, block, just completely remove. If at any given point I feel that they're using my emotions to their advantage. Okay. So yes, you have to be careful. But I think as human beings, we are capable of being able to suss out people who may take advantage, and that you can remove them from your life. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, you have to be careful. It is very, very important. Okay. Geeta, I can see you next in the list. Any questions?
No, Jack, sorry, I joined quite late
That's okay.
because I had somebody in my family, cousin's brother died today due to COVID. So
Sorry about
just
that.
had,
We are losing people left, right, and center. I mean, I lost one of my aunts just 2-3 days ago. Yeah, just too many people. Sorry
yeah,
to
me
hear
and
that. Yeah.
Chetan, we had in the past 2 weeks, I think 4 to 5 people in the extended family died. So it's just, the heart is there and the physical presence is there. So it's just, I was probably trying not to join, but then I thought I just want to change my mind. So I just joined afterwards. Yeah.
Do watch this session. It will massively help you. Massively. Okay. Next on the list is Jennifer. Do you have any questions? I think you got the gist of this anyway.
No questions, Jack.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Kalpana, do you have any questions?
None for me. Thank you. It was a great session. And the question I wanted to ask is already been, it's covered. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Lavanya, any questions?
Yes, Jack. Few questions.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. Looks like you're slightly away from your phone. Your voice is not clear.
Just one second.
It's much better now. Go ahead.
Is it better?
Much better,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So first question, going back to Jennifer's question, saying you need to have an exit plan before starting your business.
Yes.
That's one question to me.
Yes. Yeah.
And second question, pointing back to somebody asked, I can't remember if it was Kalpana or before. When you're saying Esther asked about being vulnerable. Okay, when you open up things to other people.
Yes.
If you start omitting people, how many people can you have in that closer list? I have seen certain stages when you open up with people and you hardly have one person or two people. Do you understand? In your closer list who you can't do business with. So
okay. Okay.
Is that a good idea to open up or just?
I will answer that question. I'll answer that question. Any more questions?
No, Jack. That's all.
Okay. So to answer your question on exit, yes, it is a very, very good practice to have an exit as soon as you start something. Yes, it's a very good practice. But look, there's no hard line. Who says that it has to be there? Who says that? No. Look, nothing is ever hardcore line. Everything that you learn depends on how you use it on your own life. Yes, I'm very well aware when you start something, you gotta have an exit. At the same time, I have none. It doesn't affect my performance. It doesn't affect my business. It doesn't affect anything that I do. If it did, I would have had one. It doesn't. Okay. If let's say I die 6 years from now, and my family is left with the business, they can easily walk into the market and sell the business. Okay, or one of my friends can help and sell the business. It's not a big deal. So to answer your question on exit, it's a good practice. There's nothing. There's no hardcore line in saying you gotta have it. Okay. Second question: number of people in the inner circle or in the very close influence circle of yours, which will help you grow, you invest with you, do projects alongside you. It depends on your own capacity. Yes, you can't have 200 people. It's not possible, right? But at the same time, I do believe that if you have a certain number of people which you need to help you grow, it's very important. At the same time, I mean, I have maybe about 10 people. Okay. I would like to have more. I'm working towards it. At the same time, don't hesitate if another person in your inner circle is not growing, that you leave them and then you move on to someone who is growing. Okay, so let's say if someone is just, let's say, let's say I'm into my 40s. Okay, I'm going to give you an example on me. There was actually a couple of people in my life who just wouldn't grow. Like, even when you speak with them now and they are like 40 years old, they act like they're 20. I have left them behind. And it's not selfish. If you think it's selfish, it's not selfish. It's being human. If you've grown from a mindset of a 20-year-old to a 40-year-old, and someone in your inner circle has remained at 20, don't hesitate to leave them behind and find someone who has grown. Okay, or for that matter, someone who is still 40 years old and in a £7 an hour job. Unfortunately, nothing wrong in being in £7 an hour job, but if they're still a £7 an hour job and in their 40s, and if you want to leave them behind, by all means do that, because in your 40s you should really be on a much stronger income. Okay, so go and find someone who's making £500,000, £1 million a year, and make friends with them. And it's not about selfish, it's about it's all about learning from them. Okay, try to understand one more thing. Okay, you can take the weakest person and put them in an office like Google's office or Facebook's office, and a year later you're going to see a very, very strong person, just because the environment allows them to do so. Okay, we are practically, either you like it or not, we are practically monkeys. Okay, we are literally, and I mean literally, just exactly who we are surrounded with. There are only two times people change, Lavanya. It's either by being surrounded with the kind of people that you want to be surrounded with, or by reading the books. If you don't change your circle, or you don't read new books, you're the same person you were about 20 years ago. How do you change? You can't change. You're exactly the same person, right? Unless people around you start to change, or you read books about how you can improve and change and grow in your life. Okay, so to answer your question, I would like to have more, and I'm practicing and I'm working towards having a stronger inner circle, a stronger than what I already have. But at the same time, don't hesitate to move on and find people who are on a similar journey as you do, who are ahead of you, because that will help you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, can I also ask the fact that within the circle, there's always going to be your outer circle. Then there's another circle before you get into the inner circle.
That is right.
So
yes.
I think, well, someone was asking about the fact that if you are too transparent, it can be used against you.
Yes.
Your outer circle, you wouldn't be transparent with them immediately. They would have to earn your trust in a certain way. And then as you go in, that transparency would open up more and more.
That is right. You have to take it slowly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
you have to take it slowly. Like I said, if you find anyone taking like stupid advantage of you, by all means block them. It's not selfish, it's being human.
Yeah, okay.
At the same time, yes, in fact, I shared this with you a very long time ago, where I said in a circle, there's 3 layers. So you have the inner circle, which is the core people that you work with all the time. And then you have a circle beyond that, which is people sort of if you may or may not work with them. And then you have the outer circle, which is like, yes, you still have to be with them, but you kind of keep a distance. And that applies very, very well. At the same time, within the same context, I'd like to share that, remember, you have an inner fence as well. And when I say inner fence, like internal fence. So just make sure that if you are surrounded by a lot of people, which I am surrounded by a lot of people, that you have an inner fence for negativity, which means that if someone is bringing negativity into your circle, that you have this internal fence, which does not allow any negativity or anyone dragging you down come into your life or into yourself. You know, you can bring the most negative person on the planet and they cannot drag me down. I have a very, very strong inner fence. Okay. But at the same time, yes, you're right. You have the 3 circles, and then you got to take it slowly to get to know everyone in that circle. And then you keep bringing them closer and closer till you get to a point where you care about them, they care about you, and then you are good friends. At the same time, you do business together, you do deals together, and so on and so forth. Okay. There's a reason I actually have changed the name of the groups to families, because I am creating families. I want to get to know everyone. I want to get to know your pains. I want to get to know your pleasure. I want to get to know your aspiration. I want to know what inspires you. Why is it that you do what you actually really do? I actually really want to know. But sometimes it takes time with people. They don't open up easily, they take their time. So, but that is what my aim is when I work with people. Thank you for that, Jennifer. I'm just going to go through the list again. So I see. Sejal, any questions?
No, one question, Jack. If you had to say, how well do you think you know me? What would you say?
Do you want me to share it in a recorded video?
I've got no problem with it.
Okay.
Because from my point of view, I'm a very closed person.
You are.
So until I get to know someone very well, I don't give anything.
Yes.
And I think I've always been like that. I think a lot of it comes down to trust with me. So I don't give much away. That's why I asked you that question. How much have I given much away about myself?
I think I probably, maybe, if I'm lucky, know you about 10%. Okay. Yes, you're right. You're not a person who opens up easily. And that is, I can assure you, is going against you. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
But at the same time, you need to learn to, you know, it's not just you, it's me as well. Like I said, about 3 years ago, I was a very similar person. I just wouldn't open up to people. Okay. But when I started to open up with people, I've attracted a lot more people. Okay. I work with more people, I attract more people care. I care about, I don't expect anything back. Just make sure that you don't raise your expectations ever when you start to practice this. Okay. But at the same time, I barely know you 10%. And from what I know, even though you're a strong person, there's a difference. I was gonna get to that point. You're not weak. There's a difference between strong and taking strong decisions. It's 2 different things. A lot of people think it's the same thing. It's not. You're a strong person, but you're not taking strong enough decisions.
Yes, I think I let my emotions run with the flow more.
Yeah.
And that's where I get dragged down.
So I think you need to learn to balance this on your emotional side with decision side. When it comes to decisions, use your emotional strength towards your decisions rather than towards yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Using your emotional strength. I mean, Seti shared earlier that he managed to get 3 days work in 3 hours. That's emotional strength. That's not human strength, just so you know. Okay.
Yes.
It's emotional strength, because we are emotional beings. We use our emotional strength. So if you use that emotional strength towards building your business and taking strong decisions, you would get to that money mark that you want to get to very, very fast. Okay.
Okay.
The reason I am able to grow this business fast and this network fast, because I actually use my emotional strength towards building the business.
Okay.
Okay. Does that answer your question to some extent? It's not it's not something easy to answer. I can sit here for the next 5 hours and still answer your question. Okay.
No, explains it. Thank you, Jack.
But yes, I'd like to get to know you a bit more. So we have one more person, I think. Seti, any questions, buddy? Not sure if you can hear me. All right, guys, that is today's session. Thank you for watching. Have an absolutely amazing day. I'm going to stop the recording.